responses straight from the source.
Well, one thing I was interested in is this was as part of a kind of a project on multiple representations. So what did people think of them? Or any questions related to radical representation?
Right, and so we've seen, Larry came in and did his CUPS activity, and we did a little more of that. So that was one representation, of course. We're all familiar with conventional notation. This is sort of a digital representation. So now we have all these different things. So, yeah. If people want to add on to that, or their experience doing those different representations, I think you have some questions. Or there's Sam, who's not here. Right here, is it better as a more basic exercise, or does it have the potential to represent more complex musical structures? Sort of slightly different.
So, I mean, that's actually one of the things that we're struggling with, because at some level, how do you show these more? I mean, can I pop up the? I just want to show. I want to show you where Devin and I started, and one of the first places where we sort of struggled to sort of come into terms. So. You mentioned the cups thing and Larry's stuff with the, I don't know why it is so slow.
It's the internet. It's just terrible at the school.
All right, well, let's just try this. So I don't know whether you bumped up against this thing.
Oh, we did the music matrix with that.
You did this, okay. So
Yep.
so this is sort of like Larry's thing, right?
Similar, yeah.
So you can, and I guess we don't have sound, but.
We can sing it, right?
But what it does is it then will export the code into blocks. So it lets you go from that abstraction and then go into the actual code. So, and there are ways, there's another tool that lets you, this is a fun one.
Yeah, we haven't seen a rhythm ruler yet, but
Um,
we have the sensor.
But this is just really, it's bizarre.
Browser uses.
This is Microsoft Edge.
Oh, okay, I've never done it in Microsoft Edge. So.
I'm
Probably
just surprised that it works.
At all. Okay, so what this one does is it lets you sort of generate different rhythms, and again, you can sort of imagine. I don't know if this is going to work with Microsoft Edge.
I also have Chrome and Firefox if you want to switch browsers.
All right, well, I guess I'm here. Okay. Okay, so I can generate different things like that, and again, it's not playing, but you'll be able to hear them, and then once you're done with those, what you can do is you can export them. I can export them as a drum machine. So now I've just made this little drum machine.
Drum machine is the code that then in a loop.
Yeah, it basically just plays these things in loops.
Forever,
Right, so it's just a little forever loop, and it's playing this, the third, the ninth, the three,
But I
27th
don't
notes.
know if who figured out what pulling out multiple start blocks does? So do we want to figure out?
Yeah, it doesn't. When you pull out, it has multiple start blocks. Like when you just have it there, but it doesn't have anything with it, it doesn't really do it.
Well, you need to put something
Yeah,
in
you
the
need
start
to have
block.
something in it,
Each start block you could think of as a voice,
right?
and it's connected to the mouse character on the screen. So each one is connected to its corresponding colored mouse. And so you can think of the mouse as a performer. So it's performing its script, and that script in this case is the code, which has musical elements. So they can play together simultaneously and make counterpoint or harmony. They all start together at the same time when you press that play button in the upper left corner.
So you won't actually hear anything,
No, it's not.
but you can see those two two of them are going along, just repeating those two different rhythms over and over again. But you can also use those same, if I go back to the rhythm ruler again for a second. And what I can do is I can export these as rhythms, and then I can use this rhythm. For example, if I go back to the matrix, wherever the matrix went.
So I have a question. There's so much in the window that like visually you're working on simultaneously. Is there a way to like continue to look at these things but also have them moving lined up?
Well, what you can, I mean, we have some things right now. You can press, there's that home button at the top which organizes everything next to the help. So that helps you kind of get things organized. We have a project over the summer, if we can get an intern. So a lot of the development that's been done by college students has been done as part of Google Summer of Code. And so we just come up with very specific projects for the students to do. Like the matrix was done by our very first intern, because that's. And so what I envision is a visualizer. So, it would be helpful to have something that shows you, pitch over time of what would happen if you were to press play at any given moment.
Like a score, sort of.
Yeah, except it would be, kind of like the Matrix, but kind of maybe running at the bottom or something, But it would be a little bit more complex than the Matrix because you can put random variables in here. You can put in, at the end play, at this moment play this pitch, or play a random pitch between, this and
Did
this.
any of you discover the status block? Probably not. So if we run this now with the status block, it actually shows you what it's doing.
Summary statistics up here.
So it's pretty weird because we had some pretty weird notes in there. And you can program the status block to show you anything you want in the music as it's going. So you basically just use print statements. Any print statement you put the status block updates.
Mona, may I plug this up there, and then does the sound work? The headphone jacks?
Yeah, we can connect it to the audio cabinet. Do you have an HDMI port?
I have a VGA port.
I have an HDMI. You can use mine. What do you want to show?
A project and then wood.
Okay.
So, in my mind, the blocks, that's one representation. Maybe, the code itself, if you can imagine that as being separate from the blocks, is another representation. And then there's these widgets, like the pitch time matrix and the rhythm ruler. So that would be another representation, and then these different things you can export to, like Lily Pond, which ultimately can create standard notation.
I have a question. How does this program, for the user to experience, like, what would you describe as being like the difference of your program from like the loop stuff, like like live software? Well, yeah, I mean, what's the difference for you? Like, from the user's point of view, experience using this different software. Because, live is apparently like, accessible. I I mean, yeah, accessible to non-music, like non-musicians, like any kind of, you know, whoever wants to make music.
Well, I'm not familiar
Yeah,
with
it's-
live, but,
Yeah, because it's like there's a whole lot of this like looping thing, and you know, you can. It's also
maybe,
also based on
what I'm
blocks.
imagining as you're saying this is kind of like a piano roll, and then you kind of like drag and drop different senses.
Right. It's yeah. So the kind of concepts. I just wondered like.
Well,
What that would be a
you know,
difference.
computer coding is like language plus math put
Right.
together. And so this leverages what math has and what logic has. You know, so those tools are available to create music. So you can leverage, you know, an if-then statement, for example. So you can make interactive examples. And I guess we could show you one of those as well.
I did see that in like in one of the documents, there is like traditional
Yeah.
statement things for that, but I just didn't know how to use.
So I was interactive like it's
You know,
pretty important, pretty essential for your thing. Yeah. So the value of the program would I'm trying to say is maybe for you know, can be applied to a group setting. I mean, like something, you know, as a group that people learn from each other. Like,
Yeah.
can
You know,
be
yeah.
useful for that.
I get a similar question to that, and a lot. And what is typically thought, I think, is,
We're
you
not getting
know,
audio for some reason.
that the goal is to create maybe some kind of convenient way of creating music. And, you know, of course, we want this to be as convenient as possible to the extent that that's helpful. But this is ultimately a learning tool. So it's like, how do you explore these musical ideas? How do you explore these ideas?
Oh, I see.
Maybe this
You know,
one.
if you want to
Yes, just this window set up. They're not very
export
efficient.
into another program
Oh, see, that's not.
that's already
Yeah, it's
exists,
just that.
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
And then you can work in that other program.
Yeah, I think the I was that's one of my I'm trying to say here is like that there's one thing I don't necessarily not about your program, like agree with today's mainstream music program software, which is like this too like central oriented, like you know just you put this together, it's cool, not good, it's good, you know, and that's most of the software is about, like just our basis. So as far as I'm concerned, like users don't necessarily, they're not musician, don't necessarily learn anything like that realistically about music by doing that, by making music out of that, you know, software. So that's more like a product-oriented type of software that's available on the market. And your program is apparently different, substantially different. It has a lot of more meanings, like educational meanings and ideas, a lot more to it. And it's probably just because of that, like complexity. So, and it probably needs more, even like as a tutorial video or something, or some other guides, might not be enough to explain what this is.
I will say that I've done workshops
Yeah.
and I've sometimes at the first 20 or 30 minutes been like, oh my gosh, and how are we gonna get anywhere? And, you know, and then something happens where, you know, I've gone around, answered enough questions, and the other facilitators and the
Right.
kids have explored, and I've heard some really wonderful things. And this is in a setting where, you know, I'm not able to teach them much more than the, you know, half an hour,
Right,
you know, at
sure,
the beginning of the
absolutely.
workshop and then continuing. So, you know, it's, I don't know, it's sometimes surprising, like, you know, how much.
Yeah, a half an hour tutorial would be a really long tutorial.
Well, it's hands-on, so they're getting their hands on the program, they're moving things around, and then I'm answering questions, and you know, about that time, I'm starting to worry if there's going to be any finished projects, and by the end of the hour, there's some really amazing things. So I think that's a good sign, and this is with like middle school age kids. Yeah.
So did you want to show something on the?
Let's see
Well, we
this.
can't play sound. Is the problem? Only sound is going to come out
Wasn't
of here.
there
but-
something where you just had to go to preferences? And
No. The problem is that the physical, the cable itself is not close enough to there to.
Because they like,
Oh,
I
okay.
always like.
So we
Isn't
and I.
it supposed to go on here?
and they're, it's supposed to be.
So it's a little bit.
Okay, if we all listen with our most focused intent from
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, this was an example.
Yeah, I know.
This is a piece by Bach. It's called the Crab Canon.
Yeah, this is Bach's Crab Canon. It's the famous. It comes from the famous piece that I forget the exact king wrote the beginning of, and he was asked to improvise a fugue, and then later he wrote this canon, and maybe just listen to it and watch it.
Listen to it, watch it. But the thing that's cool about this piece as well, from a technical perspective, is that it's got two parts, two voices, and the first voice plays the first part, and then the second part backwards. Literally reads the music backwards, and the second voice plays the second part, and then plays the first part backwards. So there's this. It's like. So actually in MusicBlocks there's a block called backward that runs your code backwards.
So
Which is
instead of, and I think this is what Walter was saying, instead of specifying each, particular event, backwards, you can, you just take the same musical material and then you say, do all of that now backwards, And so there's many different musical ideas that you can represent in this way, like trills and upper neighbors, lower neighbors.
I mean, the other thing is that it's, so we also have a lot of control over things like mode and things like that, so you can muck around, take his piece and transpose it in different ways. But anyway, this is what happens.
I feel like that would be good to have something.
Once he gets out of the sunlit part, you'll be able to see each voice is represented by a mouse that's plotting the music. Horizontally is change in pitch, and vertically is change in time. And you'll be able to see the symmetry of the piece when it's done. So it's mirror reflection halfway through. I don't know if you could actually hear it play too, but
So hide the blocks.
Yeah.
So there's a block in here, by the way, that helps you plot, maps the mouse's movement according to the sound. And so he's using that feature so that when it plays, it's plotting X over Y, and so you can see visually, the music. So this is Bach's music.
and then one of the things, we can save this out in this lily pond format. There we go. So we'll call this crab.lily pond. And then
Walter has a kind of geeky way to do it. There's a way you you can actually see the output and then you get the PDF.
So there it is. Oh, I don't know why it's got the drum. Something, I really broke things. Because there is no drum in this, so shouldn't have had the drum in there at all.
It's creative use of space in the drum parts.
Yeah, it's really done something weird. That's very, very bizarre. Let's just look at the other one. This is what it should look like.
Can you move the code window to the right hand?
Yeah, I will in a sec. Oh, so you can see. I was just running this program called Lily
This is
Pond.
just the command line. So Lily Pond is a program that.
Yeah, that's what
There
it should
we
look
go.
like. All right.
So what the person in the UK did is they implemented something where on the server it runs Lily Pond, just so that in your browser you get the PDF without having to have Lily Pond open.
But this one does, yeah, and this particular output was before if I look at the other one again. If you ignore the drums for a second. You can see this one actually is actually in E major, whereas the other one wasn't. Sorry, yeah, C minor, okay. Well, it shouldn't have been. Something's very broken. But anyway, so you can generate whatever you write in music, you can export and make it be, sort of trying to, again, make it be a waypoint towards, other representations. And back to this thing that,
I need to go in about 5 minutes.
yeah, so maybe just do more questions.
Yeah, well, we can pull it up, or you can just ask more questions.
Who is your target user?
Who is the target user? Well, I mean, it's an instrument. I can imagine many people using it. Through this, you explore music theory, you explore composition, you explore musical ideas, and also computer science systems thinking. So, I mean, really, anybody. What I found is that children, users that are more familiar with, math, they leverage what they already know about math to learn more about music, and users who already know, feel more comfortable with music, leverage that knowledge to learn more about math and computer science. So that's what I like about this is, it is just as much STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, as it is STEAM. So it's very multidisciplinary and has, what I hope to be a, good chance of, going, being brought into the curriculum of, where the focus is STEM.
So are you working on, or you already have this pedagogical ideas for using that? Like, for instance, depending on who are the users, but then depending on different type of pedagogical ideas. Do you have that thing?
Yeah.
Already developing it?
Yeah, I mean, I need to write more of the ideas down so that, maybe others that are less familiar with the things I've learned, can kind of pick it up faster. But given the audience, I can change, what the focus is.
I think it would be very nice to have this agenda for different group of users to use the program. I think it would be nice. Like you say, for the people from different fields, like musicians who are not necessarily like that good at math, and they can learn about math or using the program and so
go.
Yeah.
So this, this might be like an example of, working from kind of a more math and computer science direction, but creating music. So this is, starting with this kind of fractal tree, but then, adding the music elements using scalar steps. So you choose a key, and then you go up a step or down a step within that key or mode, and you get the musical result. Press play one more time.
Oh, sure, yeah. So I wrote that actually more to teach somebody who was struggling with the idea of recursion and wanted to see whether adding music made it easier for them to understand the idea, as opposed to the other way around. But Thelonious Monk said, every musician's a mathematician. And I think that some people are going to come at this with a musical background and hopefully understand another representation of music because of it. And then other people are going to come at it from maybe a math background and suddenly understand music in a different way because of it. And then other people are just going to muck around and explore and hopefully learn something. But there's not like one right way right now. I mean, again, Devin and I, when I never finished the thought, but when we were talking about that matrix, originally the idea is you would start with a matrix, generate some code. It would give you a little chunk, a little phrase, and so everything you did with the matrix would be encapsulated in a block. But that wasn't very satisfying because you didn't really know what was in that block. So instead what we did was we opened up the block by default so you actually see the notes, the individual notes in the block.
Yeah, and I'll say in a lot of the kind of SAM programs where you're working with audio, it's kind of like that, and Scratch included, where at some point we do want functionality where you can like record a sound and then put that into your code. But that wasn't my priority because that's where most people come from. It's like, first and foremost, it's nice to be able to tweak with those really small kind of musical ideas, just to be able to make, to really tweak with time, for example. To be able to create relationships between the different note values and pitches. Music is about relationships, so to have this related to this, and intertwined, and to have a robust set of features that has that as its core, and then we can have the bells and whistles on top of it instead of being the other way around.
All right. Like I said, you have to go.
Yeah.
Yes.
But thank you so much.
Sure. Well, thank you guys for being guinea pigs. And
Yes.
If you don't mind, can you email the projects to us
and the questions.
Yes, I'll definitely answer the questions, and then perhaps also, if you have further questions, if it's okay, I can share your emails.
Yeah.
And now that they've already been guinea pigs, can you send that email to them? that I
Right,
sent
now
you?
the scaffolding.
Yeah, a little bit of scaffolding.
I think I've learned a lesson for next year.
No, it's okay.
I feel like the whole discussion was kind of a disadvantage. I feel like I would have been able to ask like more questions if I was more familiar with the program.
All right.
Well, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank